Welcome to Getaway Day, episode 18. My name is Gautam. I'm joined by two members of our podcast team here, Matthew and Mason, who are pictured together if you're watching on Twitch or YouTube later on. Today, we're going to be recapping all the trades that went down in one of the most crazy uh, trading deadlines we've ever seen. Before we get started on that, we are going to do a quick little This Week in Baseball. How are you guys doing?
We are doing great. We are out in the sunny city of Seattle, Washington. Been out here all week. It's been absolutely beautiful. Ended up going to a Mariners game. I've converted, as you can see here. Yeah.
Been a lot of fun. To recap everything that's been going on this busy week.
Yeah,
Awesome.
We've been hanging out with a lot of non-baseball people, and we've been exclusively talking trade deadline. So they're a little bit annoyed with us at this point, I think.
Yep, a little bit.
So,
Well, it happens. I mean, you can't avoid the calendar. So, all right, let's get into it. So, number one on the agenda, Joey Votto. This guy is on an absolute tear, and I've been saying that he's good for a while now, like the new Joey Votto with power. So, what's he doing?
Joey Votto, yesterday excluded, went 7 straight games with home runs, 9 home runs in that span. The dude is on fire. He's seeing beach balls.
Yes, exactly.
There's no other way to say it.
And the crazy thing is he has intent in what he's doing too. He's saying, I'm going out there trying to hit home runs. And that's the difference. Imagine if he had been doing that his whole career. Like, I feel like he could have had another 100 home runs in his career or something crazy. Probably not as many walks, but
yeah. But I don't know. It's really cool to me to see just the evolution of Joey Votto over time. Because, he's had individual years where he's gone and done a little bit of a power thing, but not as much. Like, he had his really high contact years, which, I mean, to be fair, was a lot of them. He had his really high walk years where he was just trying to take every pitch possible. Now he's going out and just trying to hit everything out of the park. The dude knows his swing so well. He can change it up year to year and be successful at whatever he's trying to do. The only other player that I could think of that really has done that actively and been talking about intentionally doing it is Mike Trout. As far as, this is the thing I'm going to do this year, this is my goal, I'm going to do it, and then he meets it.
Yeah, there are two guys that just seem to have a complete control over all the practice that they do to translate it to the games and see the results. And Votto's been doing it for years. Trout's been doing it for over a decade now, and no reason to see why they would stop anytime soon.
Yeah. And I mean, hey, it's working out for the Reds too, because it looked for a little bit there like they might be paying him a lot of money to not be good. You get Joey Votto back, and he's getting paid what he earns.
Exactly.
So,
yeah. All right. Next is a draft item. Kumar Rocker did not sign with the Mets after his physical came back. He was the 10th pick in the draft. He fell a little bit in the draft. He was expected to sign over slot, and he did not come to an agreement. So he's going to, I'm not exactly sure where he's going. I know he's not going back to school, but he'll be pitching, I guess, professionally somewhere else. And the Mets will go ahead.
They talked about him either doing some solo, just strength conditioning, training, getting ready back for next year, and then gave some other options. I think it was last year, 2 years ago, the number 8 overall pick was a high school player, and he ended up signing in Japan for $6 million.
That's right.
And you got to imagine Rocker could do the same thing, if not get more, because of his name.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could definitely see that happening because I can't remember what his name is. I think it's Carter Stewart, I believe. He's the guy that went to Japan. He was a pretty big prospect, and then obviously didn't come to the draft signing agreement, but a guy that could come back to the majors relatively soon, and he would have had really good professional experience, potentially even at a higher level than the minor leagues. So,
yeah. And the other thing with Rocker here is, well, I guess there's a couple. So one, since he didn't sign, the Mets now get the 11th pick in next year's draft. So they could potentially draft him again because he will be draft eligible in 2022. I doubt they do. Gonna guess that relationship is soured, but Steve Cohen and I believe Scott Boras, because I think Rocker's a Boras client, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, they've both come out and made statements this week. And Cohen, I haven't really looked at the whole statement yet, but there's been some backlash that I've been starting to see around what he said. Apparently, something about talking about the worth of players, and that it just came across a little crass, I guess.
Right, and it kind of falls in line with the way other owners are kind of looking at the players on their team rather than, people and players and things more like assets and just commodities that increase in value and stuff like that. And that's not what we want to see. And it's kind of unfortunate that Cohen seems like he's just like any other owner at this point.
Yeah, it's definitely going to add some fuel to the fire for the new CBA negotiations after saying these draftees are worth 5 to 6 times what they're getting paid.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but and then Boras came out and basically said that there's, and I mean, he's obviously going to stick up for his guy, but basically saying that there was independent medical reviews done back in 2018, and then after the surgery, and now after around the draft, and that there's no difference structure or like in his elbow at all. And so Boras is basically saying it's just a BS by the Mets that they offered him what they said they were going to offer him. Physical came back, and then they said, "Nah, hold up, we're going to give you less." So there's a little bit of a relationship issue there, and I did see that some people are wondering if this is going to end up doing to the Mets what the Blue Jays did to themselves, where they ticked off Scott Boras. I'm trying to think of who the player was. Do you remember?
When was this?
Well, I think it was around the time that Jose Bautista was on his way out. But basically, for like 10 years, Scott Boras didn't bring another guy back to the Blue Jays. So,
yeah. He seems to definitely like some teams more than others. He had a whole bunch of clients with the Nationals at one point with Strasburg and some other guys. So,
yeah, but Scott Boras will follow the money.
Oh yeah.
So Steve Cohen will definitely be willing to give it out.
Yeah. John Axford is back. He just got traded from the Blue Jays, from the Blue Jays back to Milwaukee. So
for $1.
For $1. I didn't know about that.
$1.
But
yeah,
that's a blast from the past.
He hasn't pitched since 2018. He was working for MLB TV, and then he went back to the minors and was pitching there. And he was in. Was he in AAA or was he in AA?
He was in AAA. So he actually started by going. He's Canadian, right? If I'm remembering correctly. Yeah. And so he was actually playing on a Canadian Olympic team that didn't qualify, and the Blue Jays saw it, and he got a spot there and went to AAA. He's actually dominating AAA.
Oh, dude, he's dominating, man. 0.84 ERA in 10 innings. Like, John Axford's back, and he's 38 years old. So let's see how he does.
And he pitched for Milwaukee his first time in the big
that was
leagues,
the team he broke in with. Yes.
Yeah.
I believe he's the active.
That'd be cool to see him come back in the playoffs.
I think he's the franchise leader in saves for the Brewers. And Josh Hader actually just went on the COVID list today.
Hey, bring him up.
Exactly.
Yeah, no. So there's a lot of guys that are getting ready to come back. Axford from the minors. It looks like Chris Sale's about to make his final rehab start this Saturday, so he'll be coming back for Boston. And I'm so excited to see him come back because he's electric when he's on the field.
Yeah.
And then putting him next to Tanner Houck, a lefty and righty of the exact same like build and pitch type. Like they're the same pitcher, just throwing with the other hand. So having them on back-to-back days in a rotation would be nuts.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't really thought about the comparison, but yeah, I've seen Houck's slider, and it's just kind of like reverse Chris Sale slider. very sweepy.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So,
that's like a trade acquisition better than a trade acquisition for the Red Sox. So that's going to be
Mhm.
huge for them.
yes, it is, which is good because I don't think we were going to mention them here later, but they did not do much
No,
at the
they didn't.
deadline. That was a big miss, I think, on their part.
Yeah. So
But
they're really
but
banking
they
on
get
Sale.
Sale back, so
Yeah. And then last note
uh,
here, Abraham Toro. He hit some home runs for multiple teams this week.
dude, on Monday, so the Astros were playing the Mariners here this week from Monday to Wednesday. Monday, Toro started third base for the Houston Astros. He went yard. Then that night was the big trade of Kendall Graveman and
Rafael
was there someone
Montero.
else that? Yeah, Kendall Graveman and Rafael Montero going to Houston for Abraham Toro and Joe Smith.
Yep.
And then the next day, Joe Smith comes out and throws a scoreless inning, which is something he hasn't done in seemingly 12 years. And then Abraham Toro goes deep again for the Mariners. And then we go on Wednesday, and he goes deep again.
Yeah.
So 2 different teams, and he went yard in all 3 games of the series. It was nuts.
I think that must have quieted down the Mariners a little bit, who were kind of beating drums and gonna grab their pitchforks after Jerry DePoto for trading their closer Graveman, who was having a really good season. But they got Toro
Yeah,
to be a guy who can be part of their team for 5 years now.
exactly. And so I think that's a great pickup for them, honestly. And then going out and getting Diego Castillo from the Rays after that
Yeah.
to replace Graveman, and I think it worked out.
Right. Yeah.
So
I kind of thought Jerry was going to make a really big move, though, like go get a Craig Kimbrell or something, but I guess he had some restraint for once in his life.
yeah, I don't know. I think he's starting to realize that they're actually close, and so he's starting to get a little
Less
anxious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, I'm not sure if we're getting to this team in our list here, but the Padres and AJ Preller, they didn't really make a response trade to some of the big trades made in their division. So
I was talking to Mason about that today, and my thought on that was they had the biggest swing of any team because not only were they going to get Scherzer, they then lost him to the Dodgers.
direct rival, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know that they got a really good get in Adam Frazier. I love that move. Adam Frazier, you can attest to this, has been my favorite Pirate for quite a while now. I think he's an incredibly underrated second baseman. That was a great move. I thought they were setting up to win the trade deadline, and then they kind of just fell flat.
Yeah, and then
not for lack of trying.
The Frazier move is really good, and it looks even better now because Tatis is injured his shoulder once again. So Frazier can slide in every day at second base. Kim can play shortstop, and I mean, I guess it's better than not having Frazier. So hopefully Tatis is not significantly hurt.
It sounded like the day after he came out, they said it was basically the same as the first time that it happened this year because it's the same injury. We all know he's getting surgery after the season, but he's trying to play through it this season. So it sounds like he might be out 10 days and then come back. So, but I was hoping when it happened the second time here that it wasn't going to require immediate surgery because that was my biggest fear is that he would be done for the season. But it looks like we're safe from that standpoint. So,
all right, you guys got anything else before we get into some more teams and their moves at the deadline?
I think that that pretty well covers what I was wanting to talk about with the Padres there. So,
okay, cool. Well, I am going to lead this off by talking about the Cubs. The Cubs, I guess I'll give their trades that they made first, and then I'll speak. So the first trade was Anthony Rizzo for prospect Kevin Alcantara and prospect Alexander Vizcaíno. They traded Craig Kimbrell to the White Sox for Nick Madrigal, who's injured for the rest of the season, and relief pitcher Cody Hoyer. They traded Javi and Trevor Williams for 2020 draft pick Pete Crow Armstrong, and then they traded Chris Bryant for Alexander Canario and Caleb Killian. So they made a whole bunch of trades. All told, they traded 9 major league players away, and they received 12 prospects back. So there's kind of two sides that I see this from. The first side is just, the one side is the analytical side that says what the Cubs did here is they took a bunch of players on expiring contracts and they turned them into prospects, and they've improved their the depth of their farm system very significantly. And maybe next year we could be talking about the Cubs system as being a top 5 or top 10 system in the league. The other side of me, the overwhelming side of me, says we just traded a league MVP in Chris Bryant. We just traded a
Gold gloves and silver sluggers.
the face of the franchise in Anthony Rizzo, the most exciting player I've ever seen wear the Cubs uniform, and Javier Baez, the guys who have all played for my favorite team for nearly a decade here. And that's like one of the most disappointing days of being a Cubs fan that I've ever seen. And honestly, like, it's hard to watch Cubs games right now because watching those 3 guys day in and day out over the years is just like part of the Cubs experience. So for all Cubs fans, it was a really bad day on Friday. And I didn't honestly think that they would trade all 4 of the guys. You kind of thought they would keep Rizzo and Javi, and then once Rizzo got traded on Thursday, you could kind of see the writing on the wall that they're going to go all out here and maybe trade everybody, and then it really came to fruition. So
yeah, so from the outside looking in, Rizzo was the biggest shock to me. I thought that like KB, 100%. That kind of made sense. The writing was on the wall a long time ago there. He's playing too good not to get a return on that. Kimbrel, same way. Javi, I thought they were going to keep around just to make it easier to sign him back because I think they really want to. And Rizzo was one of those guys that I thought fans would revolt. But I think on Rizzo, the reason it happened is that return of Alcantara and Vizcaino is a pretty good return as far as prospects are concerned for a half-year rental.
Yeah.
I mean, Alcantara is the number 5 prospect in the Yankees organization, and he's probably on his way towards the top.
Right. He's only 19.
2020 draft pick.
He signed
he was
a few years ago internationally, and then he's only 19, and Fangraphs actually has him as the Cubs' number 2 prospect. So I mean,
and Vizcaino is not a bad prospect in his own right at all. So that's a great return for Rizzo. I feel bad because I really enjoyed watching Rizzo play. He was like the Cub that you wanted him to lose, but you wanted to see him do something special.
Yeah.
The Javi is really fun to watch, but it makes me mad every time he does something cool. Whereas Rizzo, I just straight up respect the whole time. He was there throughout the entire rebuild process and was still good. So, but yeah. And then Chafin, I can now actually announce officially to the public my fandom of Andrew Chafin. He's amazing. The Beater Bird is following him to Oakland, assuming his wife lets him. He did specify that on Twitter. But yeah, I mean, and the other thing with the Cubs trades is Pete Crow Armstrong was the number 5 prospect for the Mets organization. He's a really good prospect, a 2020 draft pick.
Yep.
5th overall pick, right?
I think 19th overall pick by the Mets last year.
Okay, I'm a little crazy then. 5th, 19th, same thing. And then from and that one you gave up Trevor Williams as well, but half a year of Javi and I think half a year of Trevor Williams, right?
Yep.
For one of the best prospects in that organization, one of the best in last year's draft. Kimbrel got you a everyday starting second baseman who just hits every single ball.
Yeah.
Period. I don't think he's ever struck out. Granted, every ball he hits goes right there. but he could beat an occasional one of those out. So I like that. Cody Hoyer, I think, is going to be a good young player. Bryce Ball for Jock, like that's a good get for the Cubs. I think they maximized their return out of all their guys. It would be really hard as a fan of that team to watch that happen.
Yeah,
So
definitely can't. I
it's
can't
one of
complain
those,
about
it sucks now.
the overall value of all the returns. Appears to be pretty good at this point. Just the fan side of me says, why are we doing this? Why are we trading our best players I've ever seen?
It's not to the same extent because the Cubs had a higher peak, but it's reminiscent of the White Sox when they traded Sale and Quintana, and they basically just jump-started their entire rebuild by multiple years by trading those two guys. And that's something the Cubs kind of did here by not just holding on to the players like Colorado did with Story, but getting some return. And Rizzo, especially with how warming he was and everything, and how much he loves the city, is somebody that could kind of pull when the Yankees traded Chapman to Chicago and just return back to Chicago in the offseason.
Assuming that Jed had a heart-to-heart with him and they talked it through and he didn't piss him off entirely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and then that would be the hardest thing for me, is if you find out later that it was like a complete shock and there wasn't like any communication with Jed and some of these guys, and that it just completely turned them off from coming back. So
that is very possible. Kind of switching gears from the Cubs, on the flip side of these deals, I do think that the fits for these three players are absolutely perfect for the rest of the season and potentially going forward. Like Rizzo going to the Yankees, he's made a huge impact already. He's already scored, I think, like 5 runs. He's reached base like 8 times in his first 3 games, and he's the perfect left-handed bat that they've always been needing. And I feel like he could have a ridiculous second half, just making use of that short porch in right field.
Yeah, and especially with Voit not really working out this year. Voit has like a 97 WRC plus. He's hitting like 230, 240.
Only a couple home runs.
3 home runs this year. Like
tons of injuries.
Yeah, tons of injuries. 30-year-old right-handed hitter, and Yankee Stadium plays to left-handed hitters. So this is just the perfect match.
Yeah.
So it's a shame that he wasn't more excited to go, I guess. But for him, I feel like it's going to make it a harder transition.
I'm sure he's not going to complain about being able to hit the balls out to that right field.
Yeah.
I mean, so Wrigley has the deepest corners, right?
Yep, sure does.
Yeah. So that's going to help them a lot.
Yeah. They have the StatCast thing that shows how many home runs a ball would be, or how many parks a home run would be in, hitting. Yeah. And Rizzo he had 14 home runs, and he would have had 23 if he played all his games at Yankee Stadium.
There you go.
So, and then Javi to the Mets. I always thought it would be cool to see Lindor and Baez play in a middle infield, and I always thought it would be with the Cubs. So that's unfortunate for me.
You ready to wait a month to see it?
Yeah. I can wait.
Yeah, because it looks like Javi's going to slot in at short, and McNeil stay at second until Lindor's back, and then I don't know, does McNeil go to third at that point, and they shift Javi to second and leave Lindor at short?
Yeah, you can't mess with that middle infield. That's going to be very fun to watch. How good their defense is going to be.
Some of those double plays are going to be fun to watch.
Yeah,
I think all of those double plays are going to be fun to watch.
Right.
But no, and then KB to the Giants, I think he's that kind of youth factor that they needed. Like, he's not young. He's, 29?
Yeah.
Yeah. But compared to the rest of the team, he's young.
He's a young pup. Yeah.
Exactly. So I think that'll be a big help, especially since Longo's still hurt, right?
Right. Yep.
And then when Longo comes back, shift KB out to left.
Yeah, and
help bolster that outfield.
KB's kind of shown that he can play wherever you put him. He's going to do just fine, and I could definitely see him being the guy they target for the long-term contract going forward. We talked about it last week, all the money they have coming off the books, and now
Yeah.
they've got the head start on him in free agency to get in his ear. And
Yeah, it's actually incredibly reminiscent to me of when the Cardinals traded for Holiday from
Yep.
the A's.
yeah, that's a good one.
So,
Mhm.
but yeah, yeah, I feel bad for you, buddy. I'll give you a hug when I see you next week.
I don't feel bad.
He doesn't feel bad.
I've been waiting for the Cubs to burn for like 6 years now.
I mean, I've been
All
waiting
right.
for the Cubs to burn since 2015, but I still feel bad.
Ever
Well,
since that.
It's all gone now. It's
But-
all burnt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Another team that burned it down, that would be the Washington Nationals. They didn't have 4 like core guys that they traded, but they did trade 2 absolute superstars in the game in Max Scherzer and Trey Turner. Trey Turner having another year next year. Both those guys going west to Los Angeles and the Dodgers.
I hate the Dodgers. I just want to throw that out right now. Hate them.
Yeah.
They can kindly go away.
Yes. Yes, they can do that.
Yeah.
And the Dodgers gave up Josiah Gray, who's making his first start for the Nationals tonight. They also gave up, who did they give up? I don't have that.
Kybert Ruiz, Donovan Casey, and Gerardo Carrillo.
All right. So
Kybert Ruiz is going to become their everyday starting catcher because Yan Gomes just got traded to Oakland, I believe.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So Kybert finally gets his shot, which, to be honest, this entire season, he's just been itching for a turn. But Will Smith has been so good for the Dodgers, they weren't going to mess with that. So Kybert's now taking the starting role. Josiah Gray's inserting immediately into the rotation. I think he's had 2 starts with the Dodgers.
Yeah. 2 or 3
since he's debuted. Yeah. So that's going to be a really good start to kind of rebuilding that team, I think. Just getting a nice young battery going there. And I mean, yeah, you obviously don't want to give up Scherzer, but I think Mike Rizzo finally saw the writing on the wall. That team it was getting up there in age. The division was looking like it was building up faster than the Nationals were. So they offloaded Schwarber. They offloaded Josh Harrison, right?
Yep. Brad Hand. Yan
Brad
Gomes,
Hand.
as you mentioned.
There was another relief pitcher that went with Josh Harrison to wherever he went.
I thought it was Gomes was it not Gomes and Harrison?
Yeah, it was Gomes. and
Together?
Harrison.
Oh, was it Gomes and Harrison together?
Yeah.
Oh,
I think so.
my bad. But yeah, no, I think Mike Rizzo he never wants to go into a full rebuild. He's always trying to retool, which he was trying to do even when they weren't good. It panned out for him just a little slowly, and I think now he's just seeing that it's time. They're not going to get all the guys back. Trey's probably going to free agent or somewhere else in free agency next year. Scherzer's going to free agency this year and was open to trades, meaning he might not come back. They're not going to win the division.
Well, it sounds like they tried to have some talks with him about extensions and what would make sense, and they basically went nowhere. Which is actually an interesting point. We heard a lot this deadline about how many teams are trying to work out last minute extensions with players, and none of them panned out. And almost all of those players then went and got traded.
Yeah.
Which is a little shocking from the standpoint of the looming CBA.
Mm-hmm.
I would have assumed that more people would have wanted security, but I guess at the same time, if the new CBA is more beneficial to free agents,
Then they want to
then
wait.
you want to wait.
Yeah.
So I guess that might actually be signaling what the players are looking for in a new CBA then. Because they've been talking about it. So if all these guys are having conversations with the Players Association, and then they're in talks with teams on extensions, and those negotiations go nowhere, is that what we're going to be starting to see in the CBA? Is a lot more compensation-based changes? Which, 3 years ago I would have told you yes, so probably still yes. But
Yeah, I mean that's always the hope, but I'm not sure. I don't know the answer to the question. It's a good question.
yeah, so I don't know.
Getting back to that
But-
the big trade real quick. Just initially, My thought was that return seemed a little light for getting two of the best players in the league right now.
So yeah, I could see that. I definitely think Kybert and Josiah Gray were the two they would have been the two headliners no matter what. So we were talking about it actually the day before it happened, just on a what if it did, and it's like, well, Kybert and probably a young pitcher like Josiah Gray or Mitch White. One of those guys is going to have to be in the package and then some. And I would have assumed Donovan Casey or Gerardo Carrillo would have been slightly higher floor prospects, I guess. But
I can't believe they didn't get Lux.
Yeah, that's the number one
they
thing
made
to
this
me,
trade without that.
right?
Because, I mean, first of all, where are the Dodgers going to play everybody?
They'll figure it out.
There's
Someone
only
will get
so
hurt.
many infield spots.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I don't think they're even going to offer Seager a contract in free agency. I think this was their move to say Lux is our second baseman going forward. Trey is coming in, who's not a Boris client like Seager is. Try and work out an extension with him next year, and go with Trey and Lux as your middle infield for the future.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I think that's their plan.
The fact that they don't have to get in on the bidding sweepstakes for a shortstop in the winter is amazing for them, because they'll save, and they've got Trey Turner.
Even if they want to get in and keep Seager, they can set a hard deadline, a hard price point. We'll give you 7 years, $250, and if you want to go try and get more than that, buy. And they don't have to budge on their contract.
Yeah,
especially for a guy that's been as hurt as he has been.
Right on. So. Yeah, but I would have to say that the Dodgers seem like they're the team that improved the most, right? That's pretty
clear. Yeah, big time. I mean, because they also got Danny Duffy, and I think Billy McKinney's been on the team for a couple weeks, but still a trade deadline deal. But yeah, so Danny Duffy, when he comes back from injury, a lefty out of that bullpen, I think that'll help a lot. Just not that their team really needed to improve much, but they still did. Mm-hmm. And so that's the impressive thing to me. They know what they're doing, and they know that putting money down, blank check, is gonna pay off. I mean, hell, they got their first World Series last year. They want to repeat. So,
okay, yeah. Let's hit some teams quick here. So Yankees, we talked about. What's up? Talking Yankees.
Joey Gallo looks weird without a beard.
I
don't like it.
Yeah, he's an odd-looking man without the whiskers and other things on his face.
But I guess long story short, I think getting Gallo and Rizzo and Heaney, and then Tim LaCastro, and then guys for the bullpen like Clay Holmes, Wandy Peralta, I think the Yankees are probably the second most improved team coming out of this deadline after the Dodgers. Is it going to be enough to get them a wild card or first place? I don't know.
Yeah. Kind of no one can really say that Cashman didn't do anything. He put his he took a big stand here and went all in for this year, and I like it.
I was really surprised. When I heard the Gallo trade, I'm like, okay, they'll improve this year, and then they'll be set up well with another big lefty bat for 2022. But then when they got Rizzo, that really signaled their intention.
Yeah, so Yankees are 7 games out right now of the first place in the East. And
what about the wild card?
Wild card. I don't have that up right now. But yeah, they've got.
I will say.
Go ahead.
Good. I will say somebody in the New York organization needs to be fired for letting it go until the end of July without having any major power lefty bats in that lineup.
Yeah, it's been absurd how, you think of the Yankees, you think of a bunch of mashing dudes, and they have not had it at all. And this year, Yankees are 2.5 out of the second wild card behind Oakland right now.
Okay. So they do actually have a realistic play at the playoffs then. It is a wild card.
Yep.
First place is a little bit more difficult because they've got to get through Boston and Tampa.
Yep. So they got some climbing
And
to do
then
if they want to win that.
and Toronto is making a push as well. So that'll make it harder yet. Because I mean they picked up Barrios Hand, Joaquim Soria, Adam Simber, Corey Dickerson, and Trevor Richards. The shock there for me was that they parted with Austin Martin.
Yes.
So Austin Martin and Simeon Woods Richardson were the two guys that they gave up for Barrios. And I thinking about it since then, like with Kevin, Bo, they have the other guy we were talking about yesterday, the other Jordan Groshans.
Oh yeah.
So they've got other shortstop prospects and shortstops, and so like maybe he's blocked. Maybe they thought he slotted better as a shortstop than an outfielder, which he does also play. And I mean, I think they overpaid for Barrios, basically. But
year and a half left. They took the plunge, and they obviously made a lot of other moves to help improve the team this year, knowing that AL East is just going to be a dogfight. And there's going to be.
I got a quick mini trivia here. So who do you think has the highest run differential in the AL East?
Highest run differential,
or just rank them? Just rank the teams in the AL East.
My initial guess would be Boston would be number one.
Nope.
That.
Tampa?
What?
Well,
Tampa Bay. Are they one?
Tampa Bay's number one.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you're leading it into where it seems like Toronto should be high, but I would assume Boston would be up there.
Boston's actually third. The Blue Jays are
Toronto
second.
number 2.
Blue Jays are second, and the Yankees have a run differential of 0.
Yeah.
Then the Orioles are negative like 8,000. Like
yeah, negative 137.
Oh, basically. But dang.
So who do you think comes out of that division? I guess run differential says that the Blue Jays maybe should be better than the Red Sox at this point and the Yankees.
I guess to me, it's how does Chris Sale look when he comes back? Is he Chris Sale and they're pitching him every 5 days and he's just dominating? If so, I have a hard time not leaving Boston off the top.
Did Boston pick up another reliever or no? I don't have their trades pulled up. So.
I'm not sure. Maybe a minor guy or two.
They got Hansel Robles.
Oh yeah.
Oh right, yeah. That'll help a little bit in the pen if Sale can come back and be what early season Chris Sale usually is. I think they'll be okay. And I think they'll make the playoffs. If he struggles or gets hurt again, or a guy like Erod or Tanner Houck get hurt, I think they're going to struggle. Tampa, I think, is a lock. Is that?
Yeah. I mean, Tampa, out of any of those teams, I'd be most surprised if Tampa Bay missed the playoffs.
Yeah, and I mean, they gave up Rich Hill, Willie Adames, and Diego Castillo here at the deadline. Like, we can't forget that. But they also added Nelson Cruz, Drew Rasmussen to their bullpen, and then I don't know what they want Jordan Luplow for, but they got him.
Hammer or Chris Sale probably, because Luplow just crushes lefties. It's just such a typical Tampa Bay move of yet another platoon outfielder.
Yes.
Yeah.
But so I think Tampa, is taking the division. I think it's going to be a toss-up between the.
You're pretty conflicted. That means it's going to be a good race.
Yeah, so I think Toronto's going to be in the running. And I'm trying to decide between if I have more faith in Boston to hold a 6-game lead over New York, or New York and all their moves to actually help. So
a related question is, will the wild cards this year both be from the same division in both leagues?
I don't think in the American League. I think the American League, I think there's going to be an NL West and an NL East team.
So if it's an NL West team, then...
Sorry. AL East team and an AL West team. My bad.
If it's an AL West team, then it has to be Oakland. Basically, I mean, I don't think the Mariners are going to do it, unfortunately.
No.
No.
But I think you're right. I think it's going to be Oakland, and I think it's going to be. I'm saying it's going to be New York and Toronto.
Okay.
Are vying for the second spot.
Okay.
I think Boston's going to fall off.
Wow.
I mean,
that'll be a big fall.
It's a hot take, but
it is.
I think I'm gonna make it.
You need one of those hot take alerts that pops
We
on
do.
the screen.
Do you have a hot take alert for me?
Nope. It's right here, visual. There you go. Okay. Who else we got here?
So I think we've just got a couple of smaller things that we wanted to mention. So the Brewers improved a little bit here, getting Eduardo Escobar, who I know you and I were both high on in the NL trade deadline preview. Daniel Norris and Willie Adames I threw on the list. Granted, that one was a little while ago. I think that's some pretty good improvement for a team that's already got a pretty handy lead in the division. I don't see Milwaukee falling out of first place at this point.
No, those moves definitely just fortify the team. Escobar is like going to be playing first base for them. He hasn't really done that much, but he's really valuable in that he could potentially slide in at first, second, or third for their team. And he's having an awesome season, lots of power, and just a good guy to have on your team, no matter what.
Yeah. Let's see, the next one that we thought was interesting. Starling Marte moving from the Miami Marlins to the Oakland Athletics for a return of Jesus Lizard.
Yeah, this is a really interesting trade because you don't see a whole bunch of just like one-for-one prospect for MLB player. But I kind of like this one for both sides.
I do too. I think that Oakland fans are going to hate it later whenever they only get half a year at Marte and then Luzardo is amazing. His upside is so insane.
Yeah.
But I love it for the Marlins. The Marlins rotation is going to be stacked for years.
Yeah.
But especially with Sixto being hurt basically this entire season, they're basically offsetting some of their rotation from free agency by a year because he doesn't get service time, does he?
No, he's got like 5-6 years remaining now.
Yeah. So
Miami is setting up to be a contending team in the next year or two, especially if they take all their young players that they've got through all these trades and go out and pair them with a couple free agents.
And then on the pitching side, they're we haven't even mentioned the guys that are coming up the pipe still. So they've got Edward Cabrera, Max Meyer, another guy, Jake Eder, who's in the Futures game. So they've got like a really strong line of starting pitchers. So they can't really they could potentially trade a Sandy or a Pablo Lopez and get a huge haul and some big bats in return.
And that's what I'm concerned about them with. I don't know if they're going to be contending next year. I think they're still 2 years away. I think they're waiting for Monty Harrison, Jesus Sanchez, some of these other prospect hitters to come up. They need to go out and sign a guy. Like if they can somehow get Javi to come there, imagine that. Javi in Miami.
Ooh, Javi and Jazz. Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
And then just in that city is perfect for him.
That is. Hey, my guy Lewis Brinson hit a grand slam today, so there you go.
No, Lewis Brinson actually did a thing.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, dang.
Yeah.
And I missed it. I'll have to go watch the replay. But, yeah, no, I really like that Marte for Luzardo trade. Oakland's not going to sign Marte back. I think he's going to be asking a little too much for their taste.
Yeah, I like how they're completely just letting him run wild. He stole 3 bases yesterday. He's stolen 4 since he came to the team. I think he has 26 stolen bases this year. So he's just like, I'm gonna run even though I'm like old. I still got the wheels.
Strengths. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Yeah, so moving on to another team, speaking of outfielders, does Atlanta know you only play 2 corner outfielders at once?
Oh, wow.
Because I don't think they got that memo.
Well, first corner outfield, right corner outfield, third
Yeah.
corner outfield, left corner outfield, center corner outfield.
So they're just going to strip away the center fielder and then just go with 4 outfielders, I think.
Yeah.
And then they can play all the corner guys. Because they got who? Jock Peterson,
Adam Duvall, Eddie Rosario,
and this is the 4th. I believe they got 4.
They did. I can't remember either. Eddie.
Oh, is Jorge Soler?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the last guy. So
Who I think is probably the worst of those 4. He's the one I like the least for that team. He's not hitting this year at all.
he started to pick it up recently, but I kind of like that the Braves also are kind of all in this year, even though they're a little bit on the outside looking in at this point. But they're kind of like the Yankees, right? They pushed all in.
Yeah. Pretty much.
So it'll be fun to watch because I don't know the rest of that division. The Phillies made some good moves that I think are going to help them try and contend for the division lead. The division is still close too.
Yeah.
So like the Mets didn't run away with it in the first half. I think they're setting themselves up to run away with it in the second half. But
actually, the Mets. Let's just bring up the Mets for a quick second. I feel like they didn't have a very good trade deadline. They didn't really address their need with starting pitching. They only got Rich Hill. It doesn't seem like enough.
Well,
Trevor Williams.
Trevor Williams is awful. That's a downgrade. He's not good.
I mean, to be fair, Carrasco made his first start on Friday.
Yep.
Or is going to on Friday? Yeah,
he did start on Friday,
yeah. So that's a big piece back if he can stay healthy now.
That's a good point. But now with the news of DeGrom, like they could be potentially in big trouble.
Yeah. So I think they were banking on DeGrom coming back, and then now they're just like, well, what do we do now?
Because outside of the Javi Trevor Williams deal, were there any other? That was the major deal that the Mets made, and then obviously Rich Hill a few days before that. But
yeah, that was pretty much it. They wanted Scherzer, but Scherzer wouldn't waive his no trade clause to go there. Yeah.
Oh, I think that is all they did, though. So I guess, their deadline really wasn't as good as it seemed. I guess just them getting Javi just seemed... Yeah.
Yeah, that just made me so mad. I was watching the game on Saturday, his first game, and Mets fans were cheering like Javi, Javi, and I was like, "That's our guy. You can't do that yet."
Wait at least a week.
Yeah, exactly.
Jeez.
And then he hit a home run in his first
wound.
game, as did Bryant and Rizzo in their first game. So just adding salt in the wound.
Did Kimbrel hit a home run in his first game?
Oh yeah, he hit 2.
On a couple sides.
Good. You went 4 for 4. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So
now we got to talk about Trevor's story.
Yeah, that's.
I think it's just Colorado in general. And
what is the deal?
Complete mismanagement.
What the fuck are they doing? What are they doing?
This is not a family friendly podcast
the interim
anymore.
GM again? Sorry. Only one. That's how mind-boggling it is to me. What in the world were they thinking?
They arguably had the best position player that's pending free agency on the market. They had one of the top starters that was pending free agency as well. And somehow their thought process led them back to, we're going to keep both of these guys and offer them qualifying offers.
Can you offer 2 qualifying offers? I thought you could only offer one.
No, you can. You just can't do it to the same player multiple times. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Oh.
So now Gray, he could theoretically accept that offer. I don't know what his market's going to be like. I would be surprised, but crazier players have accepted their qualifying offer.
Yeah.
I'm going to venture a wager out there that he's not taking a qualifying offer, and there's going to be a pretty big market for John Gray.
But I also have heard that Gray really loves Colorado and he wants to go back. Maybe he's just saying that just to say that, but
Yeah.
Maybe they think they can sign him to an extension, but I definitely would have traded him.
Why?
Just looking at
Yeah.
the returns for like a Barrios, and I mean he had 2 years, of course, but like there were
If you
good
can get
returns.
if you can get a third of that for
Yeah.
half a year of Gray, I mean,
Well, and then so the Trevor Story one really ticks me off for a couple of reasons here. Matthew's been hearing me
playing.
complain about this for what, 4 days now? 3 days?
What a feel.
Yeah. So Trevor Story has come out and said he was surprised that he didn't get traded. He was expecting to be traded. He basically made it sound like he wanted to be traded, which I mean, yeah, we probably all could have guessed. He was the guy who, coming into the deadline, everyone thought was the most sure to be traded. Then you have all these reports coming out of there's like 6 teams that are all talking to the Rockies about Story. The 2 most like advanced conversations are with the Mets and the Cardinals. And then you have the deadline pass and nothing happens. And then John Mozeliak comes out almost immediately and said, when we woke up this morning, we were almost 100% sure that we were going to have a guy. And that didn't come through. And he didn't say who the guy was, but then basically the same time, Trevor Story said that I was pretty sure I was getting traded to a certain place. And so everything's adding up that it sounded like Story was going to go to St. Louis to be with Arenado, which would have been nuts. Like, just especially because we would have fleeced him. You know we would have.
Yeah, I'm sure they would have. Yeah, I've just
but-
got to say, like, my God, like,
And they're just going to get like the 37th pick of the draft because he's going to sign over 200 mil. That's it. That's all you're getting back for him.
yeah, like, Javi's great and everything, but Story's obviously like the more complete, better player, and the Cubs basically got, you know, first round pick from 2020 for Javi, and
Well, and not just a first round pick, a high first round pick.
Yeah,
They're getting a comp round pick.
Which, I mean, you can get those guys that drop, but
You can.
draft picks are just so unknown.
yeah,
And
exactly.
I can't imagine taking a unknown comp pick is better than even a few mid-level prospects.
Well, and the other thing that doesn't make sense to me is they don't even know who their GM's going to be.
You know,
So,
Bill Schmidt,
who it
he
currently is.
just flunked his interview.
Yes,
They
he
can't
did.
bring him back.
He did.
My God.
So
I'm surprised he hasn't been fired yet.
do we need to have another full-on episode about the Rockies? We've already done one.
Yeah. So go back and listen to that episode where we talk about the strategies for rebuilding the Rockies. What they're actually doing is not following that path in the slightest.
Yeah, episode 6, rebuilding the Rockies.
Yes. It's not going the way we would like it to go.
You need to send him an email with a link to that episode so he can watch it
and
realize
then a link to this one, and then just say, okay, here's the 2 things. You fail.
Yes.
But like, I'm obviously not a Rockies fan, but if I were a Rockies fan, I would be furious.
Oh yeah. And
Like,
they've
I'm
done the
furious
same
about what the Cardinals did, but I'm more furious about the Rockies.
right, and it's the same thing that they've done to so many of their superstars now, where they just make them feel like, why am I here? And I don't really like being here that much. They don't treat me very well.
Yeah, they're not treating you as people. They're treating you as a 37th round 2021 draft pick or 2022 draft pick.
Yeah.
It's basically what Steve Cohen was saying. But man, I kind of wonder how much Dick Monfort had a say in that trade not occurring.
Yeah, that could have been another factor. So
If that's the case, and he's the reason he didn't get traded, and they didn't get a decent return out of him, and send him to a team that would appreciate him, then Monfort needs to not be an owner anymore.
yeah, I would have to agree with that.
Or you could relegate. I think it was what you called for, Gowie, of relegating teams.
Yeah, they need some incentives to not lose. Hopefully that's part of the new CBA.
flip them with a AAA team.
Yeah, exactly.
Good.
Yeah, but you'd almost have to flip them with a AAA team from that particular.
We'll just, if Canada says Toronto can't come back anymore, we'll just let Toronto play in Colorado the rest of the season. Colorado can just stop.
That's fine. Yeah,
Works
Vladdy
for
will
me.
hit like 65 bombs. It'll be amazing.
Yeah.
Isn't he going to hit 65 anyway?
Yeah, but
No, he's talking about in the last month and a half.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
of course.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. This was fun. We hit a bunch of teams. I think pretty good discussion about the trade deadline. Really fun day in baseball, unless you're a Cubs fan. But
Yeah, you got a piece for your Cleveland Guardians there that I think doesn't really seem like at face value a great move, but I think I kind of like it. I'm getting Miles Straw. He's not a power hitter. He's a.
No, you say that, but he hit a home run yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, I could hit a home run. Couldn't do it twice.
No, I mean, yeah, Straw's pretty much penciled in as the everyday center fielder for Cleveland going forward, and
leadoff man.
provides
I
some
think
much.
he stole a base today.
Yeah.
He had a hit.
Yep, I mean, he's making an instant impact for them already, and if he can do that at semi-consistency, that's more than any other Indians outfielder's been able to say since Michael Brantley left.
That's right.
So,
Yeah, and then my St. Louis Cardinals went and we stocked up that rotation.
Oh,
I think the average age of a starter in the St. Louis Cardinals rotation right now is like 37 years and like 4 or 5 months or something.
yeah.
So we have KK, who's 33 and really good, and then we have I think
Adam
Wade
Wainwright.
LeBlanc is 36, and then we have
Adam Wainwright.
Well, I was trying to think age up.
Lester?
Adam Wainwright's the oldest one. No, the other one. J Happ is 37.
I thought J Happ
John
was like
Lester
39.
is 38, and Adam Wainwright is 39. Is J Happ 39?
I'm checking.
Thought he was 37.
He's 38.
Oh, is Lester 37 or 38?
Yeah, I think Lester 37.
Oh, okay. So we do have 36, 37, 38, 39. Luckily, Miles Michaelis and Jack Flaherty are making their rehab starts because that's a rough one. We're just trying to get through the season, and I think a lot of Cardinals fans thought the Cardinals had a shot, and I think that trade deadline was when it clicked in a lot of Cardinals fans' heads that this isn't the year for us. Let's build for next year because we're close. We ain't there. So
Yeah,
But-
and I just gotta say, man, John Lester wearing a Cardinals jersey, that just sickens me.
he starts on Tuesday, so
Oh,
I'm gonna miss it because I'm gonna be on the plane home. So you're gonna have to. Actually, no, I think I could get live TV on Saturday, so I
Oh,
got it.
nice.
But we'll be chatting about that because that's gonna be weird for Cubs fans. It's gonna be weird for Cardinals fans. It's gonna be weird for John Lester
Yeah, exactly.
because the Cardinals fans hated him when he was with the Red Sox. They hated him when he was with the Cubs, and then now at 38 years old, here he is pitching
Yep.
the day after Waino.
Yeah, exactly.
But
Okay,
I don't get it.
yeah. So thank you so much for listening. We are available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, as well as many other podcast platforms. It was great to do the 3-man crew today for the first time, and we will be back with you next week.
Yeah, so check out our Facebook and Twitter for any updates throughout the week. Engage with us there. If there's anything you want us to talk about, just let us know and we'll see what we can do. So thank you guys very much.